Everyone, welcome to Game On, X's and O's for Life's Playbook. I'm Marnie Schneider.
And I'm Katy Clark, matchmaker and luxury dating coach. And we just want to thank you for being here. You know how it is. We keep it real. Literally, you've seen us at our best, you've seen us at our regulars. So we just want to thank you for joining us. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. You're going to find us at Game On XOTV. And you can feel free to email us if you have any suggestions. We do our 4 quarters, which is very sports oriented, right? So we always want to teach and share with you health and wellness, lifestyle ideas, relationship stuff. And then we always have kind of our 4th quarter fun. So thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And Katy, I'm so excited. I know we're going to do 3 quarters, but I'm really looking forward to the 4th one today to hear all about your trip to the Derby.
Derby, yes. We'll save that for the end.
Yes. Okay, so we were going to talk about some health and wellness. And one of the things that obviously makes your mind strong and everything else is reading. And okay, I love getting kids to read. I always say when kids read, we all win, et cetera, et cetera. But as adults, it's important for us to read. So I have a couple books that are on my summer reading list, and it seems like they're all kind of self-help books. So we'll see how that goes. All right. And they've all been kind of talked about on, different news channels and so forth. So, all right. The Anxious Generation is one of them, which I'm really excited to read. It kind of talks about, well, this is like how the great rewiring, tough word, of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental illness. So I think that then feeds into this bad therapy, why kids aren't growing up. Okay.
Why do they call that bad parenting? Okay. I'm like, let's not forget where it all starts is at home. But that would be, maybe I'll write that book, Bad Parenting.
Yes. And then the third one, and I really love Scott Galloway, is The Algebra of Wealth, a simple formula for financial strategy or security. And I feel like everything that we do in life really has a mathematical equation to it. And so I'm really excited to read Scott's book about this, because everything is mathematical, whatever it is, like whatever energy you're putting in is mathematical, whatever you're doing, time, balancing time, doing all these things, our health or wellness, how much time so it's all about, to me, it really does make sense. So I'm super excited to get into this one. I think I'm going to read this one first, and then once I can figure out some of that stuff, and we'll go from there.
I always have, I buy these books and I skim, and I've even been on airplanes, and now I usually have a pen, this, Dating with Katy pen, and then a highlighter. So I've been on airplanes and I'm reading, and whether I'm on my hammock, whether I'm sitting at a desk or on an airplane, and people are like, "Are you an editor?" And I'm like, "No, this just helps me to remember if I ever need to go back and reference." So I looked through my little pile of books in my closet. I've got great stacks of books over here. And here are a couple that this is my favorite. And this is the compilation, but it's the complete works of Florence Scovel Shinn. Her name is Florence Scovel Shinn. And my favorite is The Game of Life and How to Play It. So she was in the 1920s, and I'm thinking, man, in the 1920s, these women were writing. Her other book is Your Word is Your Wand. So a lot of it is manifestation, but with a Christian perspective, The Secret Door to Success and the Power of the Spoken Word. So this is her compilation. You can actually listen to a lot of this on Spotify as well. And you can listen to her affirmations, but I absolutely love it. And she reminds people that, if what is happening over here is something that you want, maybe it's this woman has this great husband, and you're like, well, I want that guy. Well, that is an expander. That person is somebody who is expanding your mind and encouraging your spirit. So, I did meet a woman at the Derby who's like, see that guy over there? I want to be with him. I'm like, he's married to that woman. Like, so again, you just have to look at somebody like that as your expander, and she needs to kind of get off of that, because that's not good. Here's the next book I like. It's called How to Talk to Your Husband So He Will Listen.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
And it's really talking to any man, because, it's so different. My husband's very quiet engineer mind. And it's hard. It's sometimes I'm like, hello, like I get no facial expressions back, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm Miss Dramatic, and my thoughts and my feelings are on my sleeves. And so this is just a really good idea. And in the very beginning of the book, he says, a woman can so easily crush a man's spirit with a look, with a word, with a shrug of indifference. Her cynicism is utterly emasculating and many times incredibly subtle. Like a fine, thin blade, it slices deep, penetrating the very core of his masculine soul. Ugh. And that's in the book, Four Pillars of a Man's Heart. But I love this because he actually talks about how we are like the man whisperers, right? Just like we've heard about the, what is it, the horse whisperer, the, the
Baby
animal,
whisperers, dog
whatever.
whisperer.
So it's how to learn to be the man whisperer. And, we quietly observe, we quietly listen, we quietly note. Basically, we enter his world and we take, you take, we look around and we take inventory. And I'm a believer that we women can guide our men, that we really are the next, so that he might be the head, but we're actually doing all this work right here. So this is a great book. And then I bought this because my husband has got that engineering mind. I also, my third child is very quiet. And I actually bought it to read, and then I also bought it to listen to, but it's called Quiet. My therapist suggested I read this because I get so frustrated with quiet people. And, I'm like, oh, I don't know what they're thinking, or why don't they speak up more often? And, it's actually been a frustration to me. But one of the core concepts in this book is that we used to be a culture of character, and now we're a culture of personality. And so quiet people, a lot of quiet men out there who are great alpha men, they're just the quiet guys. The case for the quiet guy, I'm going to do a podcast on it one day. They actually have the character, where Mr. Personality over here, he's the Mr. Charming, Mr. Gregarious. So this book kind of brings into light how our culture has changed into what we think is good and honorable, but because of this big personality and being loud and self-promotion and Instagram and you should know me. And I mean, I just did an interview with a book author, and this book author only has 1,000 followers on Instagram. And my kids are like, how does he even have a book? Right? Like, we think that because he doesn't have the personality and the numbers, but what he does have is the character. And so his book is so well written that it sells really well. He doesn't need the IG number for a great book to sell really well. But so that's kind of what I have in the lineup, or have read or would reread in my self-help section of my library.
Well, that's good. I want to get all of those, and I want to, but I want to like at least get into, a little bit of these. So I feel like, I try to, similar to what you do, is highlight some of the good points, go through it, get some of the good nuggets out of it. And again, like life, it's not going to be like reading a textbook or whatever it is, where it's all or nothing. It's like everything I do is kind of like, all right, the totality of it. I see bits and pieces of it. I want to use some of that. This will apply, some of it won't. And if I can learn some things, great. And if not, then it's like still just a good exercise and discipline to like get through a book, to have it. We love to talk about discipline. And, also the other thing is going back to your, what you just said about the author that you were talking to. It's always about, like, I always tell my kids, like, wherever you are, like, figure out who your audience is. And that's kind of how you have to behave in life. Like, if your audience is a bunch of people that are, whatever they are, accomplished doctors, then just maybe shut up and listen. If your audience, because they might have something interesting for you to say versus like whatever, telling them all your stuff. Or, if you're really always depending on your audience, it's always about like how you're going to be in the room. So know your audience. And that's a good thing also, like with your book author that you were just talking about, like he probably knows his audience. Like, knowing your audience, your audience, Katy, you're a luxury matchmaker, like you definitely know your audience. And so that's a great thing. So I think it can really narrow down what you're saying and who you're talking to, in the same way that for me, it's like, I want to know my audience because I'm interested.
Absolutely. And I think a question for you. So reading, I have noticed my eyes aren't as good anymore. So I kind of skirt the reading thing, which is not a reason to stop. I mean, I do have my first pair of readers, which I never wear, but
Yes.
I followed this woman, Terry Savelle Foy, and she was, I just have to put these on to show you guys because there they are.
They look great.
And so Terry Savelle Foy, she says, read 20 minutes every day. And
Yep.
you think, and my podcasts are 15 minutes long. So I always say 15 minutes is 1% of your day, like literally reading 20 minutes a day. But it's still hard to find, and it's hard to sit. I know when I'm on an airplane, I read really well because I'm stuck, I'm constrained. But then when I'm home, I like to read in my hammock. I need to have reading spots and times, and I need to set alarms. And it's crazy because there needs to be a discipline. Some people love it. I don't love reading. But I do like reading bits and pieces. So I do like a chapter. I do 3 books usually at a time. I'm rotating books. And I feel like it's like me in the kitchen. I got multiple things going on, so I do better rather than just one thing. But what are some other reading tips you would give to people to get
Well,
reading?
definitely put your reading glasses on. If you make, like with anything, if you remove all the sharp objects so that you don't do it, you'll do it. And so if you need reading glasses, put them on because it'll make it a lot easier and then it's enjoyable. Maybe finding somebody to talk to about what you're reading is also enjoyable because then you have some accountability. Be like, I'm going to read this book, you're going to read this book, and let's talk about it in 2 weeks. And so you don't want to disappoint the person that, you're investing time with. And I think just also knowing that you're helping yourself, even if it's a bad book, whatever it is, still reading makes people more intelligent. We know the benefits of reading. And like cognitively, people that read, are typically slower to have any sort of cognitive decline. So I think that if you just know that literally right off the bat, to use a sports term, then that might be some good motivation to actually want to read. And it's hard. And again, discipline, but like conditioning yourself to do it is a really good thing.
Yes, I agree with all of that. So we need to pick a book and read it together. We'll have to do
All
that
right.
and fill everybody in on that.
We'll have our book club.
Yeah. Just one more thing to add to our list.
I know.
Okay, happy Mother's Day. It is coming up. It is around the corner. It's a couple days away from when we're filming this. What are your feelings on Mother's Day? You're a single mom. Your mom is still alive. Fill us in on your Mother Day, like thoughts, feelings, and then also maybe some special things you've done in the past or think would be a good idea.
So, I feel like yes, I'm grateful that my mom is still here and I want to celebrate her. I think that having a day, I mean, of course I love Mother's Day and it's a nice day. And it definitely, the history of Mother's Day is actually that it started in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Mother's Day. Yeah. Uh,
Okay.
so I know I will post on Instagram the history of Mother's Day. And it started in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania by this woman, Anna Jarvis. So I think that like having a day to recognize the moms or the mom figures or whatever. I do worry that like sometimes we're not, like we're making a big deal about one day and really truly like every day moms should be celebrated, moms or grandmothers or aunts or whatever it is. But I think it's nice. And I think that it's a nice day for the restaurants too. What I was told is that on the restaurants are very busy on Mother's Day, but Father's Day, everybody barbecues. So it's interesting. People don't go out to restaurants on Father's Day. They do on Mother's Day. So for whatever
Because
that
the
is.
woman's at home doing all the cooking and cleaning and prepping.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
So I think for me, just having 3 children that will write me nice notes. Like I'm always like, I don't want a gift. I have enough. Like I'm very thankful. Just write me a nice card and then I keep those and that's a nice thing. And let's take a family picture and that's a good thing too. So just again, simple, but certainly things that are meaningful to me and that hopefully will teach them some good lessons as they become parents and go out and understand, just celebrating moms and women in general is just a nice thing to do.
I should have been wearing my sweatshirt today. My kids bought me a sweatshirt that I told them to buy me last year, and it was from Dave Portnoy, Barstool.
Barstool.
And it says, "Have you called your mother?" There was a woman who did these segments. She goes to college campuses. She's like, "Have you called your mother?" And I'm like, I love this woman. I actually have dish towels that say that I've given all my kids. I have a sign that says, "Have you called your mother?" I hang it upstairs near my kid's bedroom upstairs. And so I'm a big believer, just like call your mom, like, and do it not because it's Mother's Day, but do it all the time. Recently, my youngest son just took senior photos. Now he lives in a whole nother country, and he never sent them to me. And I was so sad. I'm like, I
Yeah.
would love to see these photos. Like, be thinking of me even when it's when you shouldn't be thinking. I mean, be thinking of me all the time. Like I live a full ocean away from you. Like I don't get to be with you. But when you take your senior photos, you should have sent them to me. Anyways, so it's important that kids are always being mindful of their moms. Like you said, what is it? What do the Gottmans say? It's the little things every day. It's the little things
Mhm.
every day, being grateful for mom. But I will say this as a single mom, and you were a single mom too, I didn't have an ex-husband that encouraged my kids to be mindful of me. So he wasn't like, guys, it's Mother's Day coming up. Let's go get your mom something. There was just no help from an ex-husband. And that happens, sadly. And there was no man in my life who was helping these kids to learn how to do Mother's Day. So I taught my kids how to do Mother's Day. And
Same.
every year I would be like, this year I want breakfast in bed. This is the menu. And I kind of preface them. And I knew they were, when they were little, they were still old enough to do like a yogurt parfait. That was before they could cook eggs, right? And so they would bring me breakfast in bed with a yogurt parfait, go out to the front yard and pick me flowers. Like that was the when they were little. Then they could ride bikes. Then it was like, you're going to go to the dollar store. You're going to buy me $1. You know, they can afford $1 card. You're going to find me something goofy at the dollar store. So I strategized how to get them to be mindful because there was nobody else teaching them these things, you know? And then ultimately it was like, here's my Amazon list. And you know, I would literally make them pull out the fine china for my breakfast. Like, you gotta pull it out. You're gonna pull out the fine china. You're gonna learn. You're gonna make that table beautiful without me doing it. I did a lot of training. So this year should be interesting. I'm actually celebrating. It's my son's graduation the day before from college. So of course it rolls into Mother's Day that weekend. I will be with my ex-husband, his new wife, his mom. My parents have sadly passed, so they won't be part of it. So it'll be a day of sharing Mother's Day with other women who are also great women.
Oh my goodness, that is going to be a lot.
I will report back next week how that goes.
Yeah, that will be a lot. But you know what? And again, but good, you know, good for you to have the stamina to understand that like this is trying to celebrate moments with all these people that may or may not have been a really great part of your life, but they added value in some ways and maybe not in other ways. So it's hard. And like, but I think that that's really beautiful to watch that. And I think your kids will really appreciate that. And I certainly applaud you for that, Katy, because it's not easy to like be with your exes and their family and all the dynamics and the kids and everything. It's like, it's a lot. But
And
yes.
I always told my kids, like when my ex got remarried, I was like, you better remember her for Mother's Day. Like, make sure that you're mindful. I mean, there was a year where my ex was like, well, they have a stepmom, so I want them with us. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
like mom does not usurp like mom. Like Mother's Day is
No.
for mothers. Like, no.
Yeah.
But I love her actually. She's great. It's just my ex is like the pain in the butt. But anyways, so I always wanted my kids to be mindful of their grandmothers. They're like on these days, like I was always a fire under their buns to like be mindful, be thoughtful. It's so important that we help our kids, even if we have to be the ones showing them, because eventually that rolls into their marriages, that rolls into their relationships, and that's how we create quality people for the next season of life, man.
Yeah.
So, and even today I was telling my son, he did something. I said, it actually made me sad and I cried. Like what you did, your lack of thoughtfulness really hurt me. And he goes, Mom, why you always got to like tell me this? I said, because you're going to have a wife one day who's going to
Mhm.
share with you. And I always teach my kids, you know, she could talk like this, but did you hear her heart?
Yeah.
Because the thing is actually something else. It's this thing. So
Yeah.
she's telling you something, but there's really something going on in here and she needs to figure it out, but you need to help her the same time. And so, you know, he's like, why do you always have to bring up my wife one day? I go, because it's going to be real. It's going to be real when you get
It
there. You know?
is. Well, it's yeah, I mean, and I think that like that is something that as moms of boys to educate them on how to treat women is such a huge thing and how to be a good partner, how to be a good listener, how to be a good sport, how to be kind, how to be aware of things. Like we were even talking, you know, about how I said to my kids, to my Jonathan and Leo, my boys, I was like, listen, no matter what, like whenever you're out in public or anywhere, be aware of the fact that if you're with a woman and you're twice her size, that like if even if she was yelling at you and carrying on, which I hope would never happen, like people are always going to be like, oh, it's him, like he's doing it. And so you just have to be aware of all these things, and people now with cameras and everything, and like they want to find somebody to blame and like all of that stuff. So it's just like so important just to learn how to be a good listener and to be a good a good a good person who like the trigger word, like triggers like don't really exist. Cause like I hate when people say, oh, triggered me. Like, oh my gosh.
You're
Like,
responsible for you, but yeah. But wait, now what was your, like, tell me some of your favorite Mother's Day presents that you received.
Oh, geez. I mean, I just think the cards, I mean, they've given me nice presents and books and posters and like made things for me, but it's always the homemade stuff that are my favorite gifts, always. It's always the homemade things. So I would say that all the cards that they've made me, different poster boards where they would write something on it and use a kind of a funny expression from that year that we had pictures. I really liked it when they were in school and their teachers really made projects, or like my mother is really good at making cookies or whatever, which maybe I was or wasn't, but it was like, it was nice that that's what they thought that I was good at. So I liked that. That was always nice.
Well,
To
and
me,
I've
that's
asked
always
my
a good
kids
gift.
for a couple sweatshirts. Like I got a Thomas Sowell sweatshirt. I got the cute one about have you called your mom lately? My daughter's pretty good at gift giving, so the boys have kind of anchored off of her, but now they need to learn to like see things that, and I'm easy to buy for. You know what I love. Like I don't make this difficult. But I would say my daughter one year, she made me pajamas. She sewed them herself. And they had chihuahuas on them. We had a chihuahua at the time, so that was incredible. I've had my kids buy, I have almost every kitchen gadget possible. And they bought me some kitchen gadgets that I did not have, which is pretty cool. I've seen them like they'll go to, my kids love to thrift. And so they'll be at thrift stores and they'll buy me some funky stuff, that are like shiny shoes or things that I won't wear a whole lot. Were cheap, but like a little bit me anyway. He's done a really good job. But now I'm in a season, and I see this with my husband's kids too, where it's not sister's job anymore for these boys to like rise up, right? And
Right.
so it's, I'm mindful. I told my daughter, we all have adult grown men now. Like you guys did your duty. Now it's time for them to be thoughtful. So this year I just asked for some books for the house. Nothing. I mean, some of these coffee table books are hundreds of dollars. So
It's unreal. The price of everything is outrageous.
it's
Yeah.
a coffee table book, and how much is that? Okay, Mother's
Yeah.
Day, I guess, because I can't even choke it down for myself. I'm like coffee table book, but it would look great in the house. So that's all I'm asking for this year. I know they asked me like, what else do you want? I'm like, nothing.
I
You
know.
know,
Well, that's the thing too, is that we really are very fortunate that we don't, I just like the idea of
yeah.
them just writing something down, or like making, a nice note and handing it to me. They'll make breakfast or they'll do some sort of cooking food thing, but just the notes. I love the notes.
Cute, cute. All right. Well, let's talk about the new term that I coined. I want to just make that clear. So some professor somewhere says they coined it. No, Katie Clark coined this term today, and I call it the turnkey man. And I am noticing this, that women want what I call a turnkey man. Like they want to just walk right in. And now my husband and I bought a turnkey house because I knew that we did not have the bandwidth to endure our honeymoon and our new relationship in a new state for me, having to like change anything. So I wanted a turnkey house. And these women want turnkey men. They want to roll into the relationship. They want him to be established and lots of finances. He needs to dress well. His house needs to be pristine and decorated. Like they're missing the opportunity to be the feminine in his life. And now at the Derby this weekend, I stayed with a bachelor, and he definitely needs a woman in his life and in his house. And it would be a turnoff to a lot of women these days, because they would say to me, well, Katie, he should know. He should know. He's 50 years old. He should know that you don't put this belt that doesn't match these shoes. He should know. So that's kind of the terminology these women use. I had recently a client go on a date with a girl. She's 32, he's 35, 36, he's a big dog at a football team, professional football team. And her feedback was, well, he's renting a house right now. He's renting an apartment at the beach for $7,000 a month. And he doesn't own a house. And I don't know if he can handle my parents' country club. Well, my response was, he could buy a house anytime he wanted. He's enjoying the beach. He just moved to this new state. So like, why does anybody jump in and buy a house? No man goes and buys a house right away if he's single. On top of that, I said, sweetheart, he far surpasses your parents' country club. His crowd is way beyond that. Like, come on, girl.
So what do you think? It's just, again, it's like, it's the social media or this entitlement thing that people they all think that they can, I mean, is it that they think they can do better than who they are? I mean, it's kind of gross. Like, what is it?
Super gross, actually. This is what I wrote in my post, and that's dating with Katy. Here, let me pull it up. I wrote, I've created a new dating term. Da, da, da. It's a man. Okay, so I just took these off of Google. I Googled turnkey, the word, a man, and it said like something that is built, supplied, or installed, complete and ready to operate. Now, I understand it's this idea that we think everyone's supposed to come to the relationship 100% perfect. These women think they are 100% perfect. So a
Right.
man who is ready to be used immediately by the person who is dating or using it or relating to this arrangement. Basically, I just wrote a woman wants a turnkey man because she is not in the mood to teach him. And then I said even I mean I just mentioned something that these women are selfish. They're just super selfish. And it's this entitlement. It's everything you just said. It's these women are going to be single. They will be single. They'll be single. It's that simple.
It's no different than some of the women that we knew from when we were younger, or like nobody's ever good enough or whatever. And no one is, oh, they have this or they have that, or they're, I mean, like in a negative way. And geez, I mean, it's, do I wish that like maybe I had it goes both ways though, kind of, because I was like, maybe I wish that I had more self-worth or something when I was young. Maybe like I could have gone bigger or better or whatever it is, but like I don't go back in time. So it's like there's always a delicate balance. But again, it's always about like, what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the picnic? Like, what is your contribution to whatever it is? And again, it's like always on someone, and timing plays a weird part in it too, because when you meet somebody, they might be in this particular part of their life, and either you can picture a life with them because they're a kind person, they're smart, they've got values that you like, and you can say like, let's go do these things together. And hopefully that'll work, and hopefully they'll be able to sustain it and have the stamina
Right.
to do that.
Right. It's this idea that women think that men should just really roll up perfect. Like they should have figured it all out by now. And I mean, I deal with a lot of 50-year-old men, but guys don't. We need to be in their lives. When I met my husband, he was living in his buddy's house, and then he was living in an apartment complex in like the butt end corner one. But I knew that wasn't his forever. And these girls are like, I just want to roll right in. I do think it's part of the seeking arrangement situation. Now these girls are getting everything they want without really having to invest in a man. These girls will also say, well, Katy, I bring this to the table, so he should bring that too. But it looks different. I think we have to stop expecting men to have a fully decorated house, for them to be head to toe in the perfect outfit. Yes, men should be going and growing and learning how to do it better. I mean, I have courses on this, Confidence 101, podcast galore on this. I have Amazon shopping lists for men, right? How to make your house smell good, buy the Aroma 360. Like your house will smell like the addition, chicks will dig it. I mean, it's not, the advice and the help is out there. Men are busy, and yes, men are lazy as well. So that's what I think these women are afraid of. But they're also missing out on great men, because these men are looking for women who are ride or die. That's what they want.
I think that that's what people want in any kind of friendship or romantic relationship. They want somebody who's going to be a, a ride or die, somebody who's going to be all in, somebody who's going to be a great partner and a great team player and advocate. And I think that, sure, while it would be nice to go to someone's, $10 million home and have it perfectly decorated, there's trade-offs on that too. And like, so everything is a trade-off, and you've got to figure out like where your trade-off is or what your dynamic is. And if somebody is living that lifestyle, then again, you're going to have to compromise on your own way a lot of ways too. So, I mean, I saw it with my grandfather, who was, owned a professional football team, and the women would come into his life, and, he had it all together in a lot of ways. And so I think that was intimidating to them because, he had it together, but really all he really wanted was somebody to just, have corned beef and cabbage with on Sundays, you know.
And I've dated those guys that had the $15 million houses, rolled up, everything pristine and done. And then what? And honestly, they just didn't have the depth of character that my husband has. And now I'm living a fabulous life with a great man. And so women have to be very mindful. I think you do. You've got these give and takes. Turnkey is not always your best option.
No, and again, that also then is like, well, is the turnkey thing, if they're really that turnkey, then, how many people does he have involved in his life? So where are you gonna fit in the life if somebody is turnkey?
100%, 100%. Okay, so now I'm looking at this because we're gonna kind of move on to the Derby.
Down the home stretch.
And yeah, we're in the home stretch. I want to pull up my favorite photos for you so I can kind of at least show you on here.
Okay.
The Derby, have you been to the Derby? You've been to the Derby.
I have, yes.
What did you think of it?
I had been when I was a young girl, and then I went as an adult a couple of years ago. It is it's an incredible, I mean, people really get addicted to going to the Derby. And they do, like, they get addicted to the whole thing. And for me, I was like, okay, it's cool. I'm glad that I went. It's nice to see. I have mixed emotions about the whole horse racing thing because I'm a horse lover. So like part of me is like, it's not that nice to horses, and jockeys aren't treated that great either.
Okay.
But the spectacle of it, the fact that like they can, they're athletes, the horses are incredible athletes. So like, I love athletes and I respect them. And the horses are really so athletic. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
and the
they're
jockeys
beautiful.
too.
Coats
So,
are beautiful. Their
no.
thighs are amazing. I mean, it's
No.
that in itself. And I'm not a huge horse fan. I did horse camp once when I was a kid, but I did love the fashion. So I was always like, is it about the fashion or is it about the horses? Fashion or horses? So that part I loved. I loved showing up and everybody was vested. Everybody showed up well. As a matter of fact, on the Oaks is, you wear pink on that day. Female horses run on that day as well. And like, so it's breast cancer awareness. So this is my outfit.
I know you look gorgeous.
It was so fun. I wore comfortable shoes. These are from Target. This is from Lulu's. I've had it in my closet. I decided, and then I got a little fascinator on Amazon and added some flowers. But so what I found interesting though is this guy on that day, we were all exiting the gate. Every guys in their, so cute. They're head to toe suits with their little tuxedo. What are these? Why can't I think of it? Bow tie. Some guys had ascots on, like they just went to the nines. So I see this gentleman in front of me in the exit. It had been a little rainy. He had a purple t-shirt on that was all wet. So I'm hoping it was rain, not anything else. And then he had jeans on and sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, like what doesn't fit around here? And then the girl he was with had black boots on. She had shorts on, like she had a t-shirt on, and she had a little fake fascinator. And honestly, I said to him, is this the best you could do for the Derby? Kind of in a joking tone, but in a like, what's going on here? Because what makes me worried is if more people show up like him, it ruins the essence of the Derby. And I don't want that to happen because what they've been doing for 150 years is so amazing, and the fashion sense of it all and the effort that people put in. And he says to me, well, we just, we're from California. I said, well, I'm from California too, but I showed up for the Derby. He's from Northern California. He's from San Francisco. And then he said, well, we just came in yesterday. I said, so did I, but Amazon's amazing. Like it was just, so that, that just reminds me of, we've got to be mindful of how we show up. It matters, and we don't want other people to ruin it. So when you're in big groups or when you're going to places, you're going to nice steakhouses and people are showing up sloppy, it changes the whole
But that is definitely California though, Katy. I will say this, that after living in California and people being in the entertainment business, okay, so if they're in the entertainment business or the tech business, and they might be worth billions of dollars, they automatically think that like they can show up in flip-flops to the best restaurants. And I've only seen that in California. And that is what happened. That's probably what that guy was like. That is what he was saying.
It's just, I just went to dinner in California with my daughter and we got a text message that says the whole outfits, like what are allowed and what are not allowed. But it said tiaras are not allowed at this restaurant, nor are sashes. Like the getting married and I was howling laughing because I was like, amen to that. None of these like early squads showing up, But restaurants and places need to uphold these things because that's tradition. And I value that as someone who's spending money on these kinds of things, like nice dinners, like show up like it matters. So that was impressive. The other thing I want to share about is that, so that was the day before Derby Day. Now, I mean, women spend thousands, or not thousands, but hundreds and hundreds on their hats. I mean, hats are a big deal. And I just wasn't willing to do that. So years ago, I was in New Orleans with my boys, and I don't know, I saw this and I was just like, it was this big red thing, and I said, I'm gonna wear this to the Derby one day. And the Derby always does roses. That's kind of the Derby thing. So that's my hat that
I
I
know
wore.
it looked beautiful.
It wasn't a hat, it wasn't quite a fascinator. I'm not sure what it was. I glued the roses on that morning just to add a touch. And I just wore a cute little jumpsuit. I decided I'm not going to go for the traditional dress look. I had nude heels that were from Target that just had a big blocky heel, so I was comfortable. I definitely saw women in point toe red bottoms. I mean, you saw the Valentinos out. So that was impressive. And here's a great picture of some ladies that I interviewed in the fabulous hats and dresses and everything. So that was great. But one thing I have to say is my girlfriend, and she is the kind of person who would rather ask for forgiveness than permission. We ended up getting down, and we got around to everything. We were in the Millionaires Club. We were all over from there to down, and we got all the way down to the paddock, which we didn't really understand. We didn't realize the horses were in there. And then you walk underneath, you get to the track, and you can stand at the track. So we're standing at the track, and this gentleman says, the winner's circle is right there and the horse will come over there. He says, you guys should jump in the photo. And I'm thinking, I'm not doing that. I'm not a winner. I'm not an owner of a horse. Like, I'm not doing that. Well, my girlfriend could care less. So she not only gets in the photo, because she is the yellow hat right here in the center next to the jockey. On top of that, she's taking selfies with the jockey while they're doing the winner's photo. And then she asks the jockey for his goggles and he gives them to her. So case in point, you know what? You can always make things happen. I think, and she was just a blast to be with. She was flexible. I mean, we had some chaotic moments, but she's like, the worst they could say is no, Katy. So that was super fun. And, later on that evening, we actually met some guys. They were all married. It was just, we were up having drinks at a bar, and, one of them was the CEO of a massive company, and it was just fun. They do this. They've done it for 30 years. They've traveled together. These guys, they all graduated Harvard grad school. So just hearing everyone's stories, this group of guys from Ohio, they were all in their goofy outfits. Like, I love it when guys do this kind of stuff. Look at these guys, goofballs, but so cute. And it's just, I think that's the fun of the Derby, right? That is where it's at. So wait, these guys, if you can see their outfits, they had little matching outfits with horses on them, and they got their ball mane and their Nikes, and they were just goofballs, but they were so cute. So they look like a little boy band.
I always like it when people actually enjoy doing things or being creative. And even if it's like a little bit like over the top or whatever, I still celebrate it because I'm like, you know what? Good for you. Like, that's cool. Like, you're taking a chance and you're doing things and you're having fun. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. Like, cheerleading for others, going there, celebrating, enjoying life, being a good person, like hopefully making new friends and showing up and keeping your friends. And like, if that's what you guys do every year, then like, that's a great thing. So like, I love tradition. I love doing things consistently and sharing these experiences with people, or making new routines and new stuff. Like, that's great. That's what our show is about, like cheering for others and like all of that. So I like seeing all of it. I think that, obviously there's like a darker side of the horse racing and the gambling and whatever else. Like, that's the part that I don't like at all, but it's a business. Like they say, it ain't show friends, it's show business. So I think that it also is great. People buy hats and buy things and are out there contributing to the community, and so those are all great things. And it's hard to like not enjoy seeing all that. So it is lots of fun.
It was impressive. It was great. Now, I do want to go back eventually with my husband. He happened to be at F1 that weekend in Miami. So, power couple split right there. But it'd be fun to go back with my husband and couples that are fun to be with, and just kind of build that little memory with some other couples.
Yes, definitely. All right. Well, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
yes,
get you a
that'll
plan
be
and we'll work on that. Yeah.
exactly. We'll put that on the to-do list. Yeah. So, all right, good. Well, I am so glad that you had a good time. You look beautiful. And all right, so Mother's Day is in a few days, and we'll share our highlights of Mother's Day. And I can't believe it. It's going to be like mid-May before we even know it. It's crazy.
Summer.
I
It's
don't even,
coming.
yeah, so I know. So it's like just wow. It seems like we're gonna be at the football season before we know it, and that's something fun to start talking about and all that
Yes.
good stuff. Yeah, baseball's really happening, and basketball's about to be over. Same with hockey. So yeah, all sorts of good stuff.
All right. Well,
Anything
until
else?
next time, guys, make sure you follow us, send this to a friend. Let us know what you thought, and we will see you next time on Game On
Yes,
the Nose for Life's
yes,
Play.
exactly. All right, love you, Katie.
Bye, babe.